Margaret Sanger. Her name ignites fierce debate, hailed by some as a feminist icon, condemned by others for her dark ties to eugenics. How can one figure embody such stark contradictions? Today, we delve into the life and ideology of the woman who founded Planned Parenthood, peeling back layers of history, morality, and ideology to understand her true impact. Margaret Higgins Sanger was born in 1879, one of 11 children to an Irish-American family. Her mother's early death after numerous pregnancies deeply affected her, fueling a lifelong conviction. This personal tragedy became a powerful catalyst for her future advocacy. Her father, a free-thinking atheist, instilled in Margaret a rebellious spirit and a skepticism towards traditional institutions. These early influences shaped her worldview, pushing her towards radical social reform. She would later reject organized religion, particularly Catholicism, viewing it as oppressive to women. Sanger trained as a nurse, working in the impoverished tenements of New York City. There, she witnessed firsthand the devastating consequences of unwanted pregnancies, unsafe abortions, and poor maternal health among immigrant women. These experiences solidified her resolve to make birth control widely accessible. In 1914, Sanger launched The Woman Rebel, a newsletter where she famously coined the term birth control. This act of defiance immediately put her at odds with federal obscenity laws, known as the Comstock Laws. She faced charges for distributing information deemed illicit. Sanger fled to England to avoid prosecution, but her return garnered public sympathy and attention. In 1916, she opened the first birth control clinic in Brooklyn, a bold move that led to her arrest. This act, however, ignited a national conversation about reproductive rights and women's health. Her activism culminated in 1921 with the founding of the American Birth Control League. This organization would later evolve into Planned Parenthood in 1942, cementing her legacy in the landscape of reproductive health care. Her early efforts laid the groundwork for a movement that continues to shape society. Sanger was not a Christian. She explicitly rejected organized religion early in life. Her moral framework was built upon utilitarian and secular humanist principles, not biblical truths. She believed in freeing women from what she saw as the bondage of compulsory motherhood. In her book, Woman and the New Race, Sanger criticized Christianity for chaining women to reproduction. She argued that this subjugation prevented women from achieving true liberation and societal progress. Her vision for women's autonomy stood in stark contrast to traditional religious teachings. From a Christian perspective, Sanger's rejection of the sanctity of life, sexual purity, and traditional family structures is deeply problematic. Her worldview diverged sharply from biblical morality, emphasizing individual autonomy above all else. This fundamental difference underpins much of the ongoing debate surrounding her legacy. Sanger's worldview was a complex tapestry woven from various early 20th century ideologies. Progressivism, early socialism, Darwinism, and Freudian psychology all played significant roles in shaping her beliefs. She was a product of her intellectual environment. During her time in England, she engaged with prominent socialists and members of the Fabian Society. This group advocated for gradual social reform, influencing Sanger's approach to societal change. Thinkers like H.G. Wells and Bertrand Russell provided intellectual scaffolding for her population control ideas. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were steeped in social Darwinist thought. This belief applied evolutionary principles to human societies, suggesting that some groups were inherently fitter than others. Sanger embraced these ideas, viewing birth control as a tool to engineer a better society. Eugenics, meaning well-born in Greek, is the belief that humanity can be improved through selective breeding. It advocates for encouraging reproduction among those with desirable traits and discouraging or preventing it among those deemed undesirable. Sanger was a staunch proponent of this ideology. Sanger firmly believed that certain individuals should not have children. She supported voluntary sterilization and advocated for laws permitting the forced sterilization of the mentally ill and intellectually disabled. Her writings reveal a clear alignment with core eugenic goals. In a 1921 article, Sanger explicitly stated, "The most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage the over-fertility of the mentally and physically defective." She also endorsed the 1927 Supreme Court ruling in Buck v. Bell, which upheld forced sterilization, a chilling testament to her beliefs. Was Margaret Sanger a racist? This question remains a flashpoint of intense debate. While she never penned overtly racist manifestos, her actions and statements raise serious concerns about her views on race and minority populations. Her legacy is undeniably intertwined with racial controversy. One of the most contentious episodes is her 1939 Negro Project, aimed at promoting birth control in Black communities. In a letter to Dr. Clarence Gamble, she wrote, "We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population." This quote, though defended by some as taken out of context, is deeply troubling. Critics argue that this statement, combined with Planned Parenthood's disproportionate presence in minority neighborhoods today, speaks volumes. It suggests a strategic targeting that echoes Sanger's early projects. The historical context of eugenics further amplifies these concerns. Adding to the controversy, Sanger spoke at a women's auxiliary meeting of the Ku Klux Klan in 1926. In her autobiography, she recounted, "I accepted an invitation to talk to the women's branch of the Ku Klux Klan. I believed I had accomplished my purpose." Her willingness to engage with such a hate group, and even boast about it, is profoundly disturbing. From a traditional moral standpoint, Sanger's personal life was unconventional and often scandalous. She married William Sanger in 1902 and had 3 children, but she openly engaged in multiple extramarital affairs. She later divorced and remarried in 1922. Sanger was a vocal advocate for free love, rejecting conventional sexual morality. She viewed restrictions on sexual behavior as oppressive and outdated, promoting sexual liberation as a path to personal freedom. This stance further distanced her from traditional Christian values. Her personal choices reflected her broader ideological commitment to individual autonomy and the dismantling of societal norms. She believed that sexual freedom was an essential component of women's liberation, challenging the prevailing moral codes of her era. It's a common misconception that Margaret Sanger was a proponent of abortion. In fact, she generally opposed abortion, viewing it as a dangerous and tragic consequence of a lack of access to contraception. Her primary focus was on preventing unwanted pregnancies through birth control methods. Sanger championed diaphragms and sterilization as the primary tools for reproductive control. However, her support for the forced sterilization of the unfit blurs the line between voluntary contraception and coercion. She believed society had a duty to prevent the reproduction of those deemed defective. While Planned Parenthood would later become a major provider of abortion services, this was not Sanger's original mission. Yet, her foundational ideology, emphasizing population control and selective reproduction, arguably laid the groundwork for the organization's later evolution. Sanger's American Birth Control League underwent a significant transformation in 1942, becoming Planned Parenthood. She served as its first president, shaping its mission and guiding its early direction. Her vision for reproductive control became institutionalized. Planned Parenthood's initial mission, under Sanger's influence, focused on providing contraception, educating the public about family planning, and advocating for population control. These goals were deeply rooted in Sanger's eugenic and social engineering philosophies. The organization's evolution from a birth control advocacy group to a comprehensive reproductive health provider, including abortion services, reflects broader societal shifts. However, its origins remain inextricably linked to Sanger's controversial beliefs and actions. Margaret Sanger's legacy continues to resonate in contemporary political and social discourse. Her ideas, though often unacknowledged, have influenced prominent figures, and shaped modern debates around reproductive rights. The echoes of her philosophy are still heard today. In a 2009 interview, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg made a statement that many interpreted as an indirect reference to Sanger's ideology. Ginsburg noted that at the time of Roe v. Wade, there was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of. This comment sparked considerable controversy. Similarly, Hillary Clinton accepted the Margaret Sanger Award from Planned Parenthood in 2009, stating, "I admire Margaret Sanger enormously, her courage, her tenacity, her vision." While Clinton later qualified her praise, her initial admiration drew sharp criticism from those aware of Sanger's eugenic past. These instances highlight the enduring, yet often unexamined, influence of Sanger's ideas. Today, Planned Parenthood faces ongoing criticism regarding its presence in minority communities. Over 70% of its clinics are located in or near minority neighborhoods. While the organization asserts this ensures access for underserved populations, critics argue it reflects a troubling historical pattern. Black leaders, including Dr. Alveda King, niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., have publicly denounced Planned Parenthood. They contend that the organization's strategic placement and historical roots in Sanger's Negro Project constitute a form of racial targeting. This perspective fuels a significant part of the modern debate. The disproportionate impact on minority communities, particularly Black women, raises serious ethical questions. It forces a critical examination of whether current practices, however well-intentioned, inadvertently perpetuate aspects of Sanger's problematic legacy. The historical context cannot be ignored. In recent years, Planned Parenthood has begun to acknowledge and distance itself from Margaret Sanger's more controversial views. In 2020, Planned Parenthood of Greater New York removed Sanger's name from its Manhattan clinic. This was a significant symbolic gesture. The organization also discontinued the Margaret Sanger Award, a prestigious honor previously bestowed upon prominent figures. These actions represent a concerted effort to rebrand and address the historical baggage associated with its founder. Planned Parenthood publicly acknowledged Sanger's ties to eugenics and racism. This rebranding reflects a growing awareness within the organization of the need to reconcile its current mission with its problematic origins. However, critics argue that these efforts are insufficient without a deeper reckoning with the ideological foundations laid by Sanger. The debate over her legacy continues to challenge the organization. While neo-Marxists today rarely quote Sanger directly, they often embrace the institutions and cultural shifts she helped catalyze. Planned Parenthood, operating under the banner of reproductive freedom, aligns with certain neo-Marxist goals. These include deconstructing traditional institutions like the family and challenging Christian morality. Ironically, the eugenic and racial undertones of Sanger's legacy stand in stark contrast to the anti-racist rhetoric prevalent on the contemporary left. Yet, Planned Parenthood often remains a sacred cow for many progressives. This creates a complex ideological tension. The organization, through its promotion of sexual liberation, abortion access, and redefinitions of family and motherhood, arguably furthers a neo-Marxist agenda. It challenges established social structures and moral frameworks, continuing a cultural revolution that Sanger helped initiate. Her ideas, though perhaps repackaged, persist. Margaret Sanger's life and legacy offer a profound warning. Ideas have consequences. What may begin as misguided compassion for the poor can tragically morph into coercive population control. What is championed as reproductive freedom can, in practice, lead to the destruction of human life. Her story compels us to look honestly at history, to discern truth from propaganda, and to critically evaluate the origins of movements we support. The complexities of her beliefs, from genuine concern for women to deeply troubling eugenic convictions, demand careful consideration. Christians, and indeed all thoughtful individuals, must engage with this history. Understanding Sanger's full impact is crucial for navigating today's ethical debates and for upholding the inherent dignity of every human being. Let her story serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of moral clarity. Margaret Sanger's legacy is a powerful reminder that history is never simple. We encourage you to delve deeper, research further, and form your own informed opinions. Don't let complex narratives be simplified. Seek out the full truth. Share this video to spark critical conversations with your friends and family. Engage in respectful dialogue, challenge assumptions, and advocate for policies that truly uphold human dignity and justice for all. Your voice matters in shaping a more ethical future.